I totally forgot my fucking notebook. We're good. Hey guys, what's up? It's Shelby and welcome back to my channel. I know I didn't post last week. My bad. But look at, I got new hair. What do we think? I'm living. Today is another midweek mysteries and makeup. Yeah, midweek mysteries and makeup. That's right. It sounded wrong for some reason. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about Dorthy Forstein, and this case is really odd and has like a couple different theories. I'm gonna tell you guys the theories that like the cops and like people around the town made up, and I'm gonna tell you what I think. Today's look is actually inspired by moi. I think the look that I actually inspired this by before was Drew MC. I'm pretty sure it's her name, or it's MC Drew, one of the two. Anyways, so I did this look 2 years ago. Can you guys see that? I did that look 2 years ago, and then I did this look 1 year ago, recreating the look I did the year before. So I figured let's stay in tradition and do it again for the 3rd year in a row to kind of progress. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Well, I had coffee today and I'm a little hyper. So Dorthy Forstein. This case takes place in the 1940s and like really late early 50s-ish. So I need eyebrow stuff. So this case takes place in 1945 in Pennsylvania, and that is where Dorthy and her family lived. So I don't exactly know how old Dorthy was or like any of that info. I didn't really see it anywhere. So, but I'm guessing she was probably like 30 or so, roughly. So she was married to Jules Forstein, and he had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and they were the 2 oldest. Pretty sure they were both girls by the names of them, like their names are girly. They are Myrna and Mercy, right? No, Marcy. I don't know why I said Mercy. Myrna and Marcy. And then Jules and Darcy, after they got married and stuff, ended up having a son named Edward. So Jules and Marcy were actually high school sweethearts. At one point, like when they were in high school, they were all, you know, childhood sweethearts. They dated for a while, you know, but then they went their separate ways for a while, and Jules got married to a girl named Molly. Now, Molly and him, they didn't necessarily get like a divorce or anything like that. Molly actually died during childbirth of her youngest daughter, being Marcy. So he didn't really end on bad terms with anything or anything like that. And then once Molly passed away, a while after that, he reconnected with Dorthy. Well, Jules actually worked for the town council. He was like pretty high up, and he was gonna be even higher up. I don't exactly know what it's called. I forgot. But I mean, they were really pretty wealthy because of Jules's job. So Dorthy was a stay-at-home mom, which was really common during these times anyways. Like women didn't really, not a lot of women had jobs. So Dorthy was a stay-at-home mom, and she absolutely adored her children, and she loved being a stay-at-home mom. She loved teaching the kids new things. She loved cooking. She loved, you know, all that stuff. She didn't have a problem with being a stay-at-home mom. She enjoyed it actually quite a bit. Their marriage too was very, very like peaceful and happy and calm, and there wasn't a lot of problems in their relationship. They got along really well. The kids all, you know, they adjusted to having her as their mother. I'm pretty sure like Marcy grew up with her being the mom, because I'm pretty sure she died after that childbirth, and I'm not exactly sure. They're like 10 years apart, I believe, because in the story you'll see why. So, I mean, she was 10, but she still grew to love her as her mom, and everything was going really, really well for them. And Darcy was, no, not Darcy. I keep wanting to say Darcy because of Marcy, and I'm all over the place, alright? Dorthy was known to be this outgoing, loving, like just like light up the room type of person. Like everybody loved her, everybody loved being around her, everybody loved her spirit. There wasn't anybody who really didn't like her. She was just kind of this big ray of sunshine in like anybody that knew her's life. But some strange events had occurred in 1945, which is where our story begins. So on January 25th, on January 25th of 1945, it was a regular day for Dorothy and the kids. Dorothy actually had to run a couple of errands around town, and if you know anything about running errands with small children, it is a pain, and it's so much easier to not do them without. And she actually had a close neighbor who was actually really good friends with her, and she trusted her with the kids, and she would babysit the kids quite often. If Dorothy had to run errands or anything, she was more than welcome, like more than happy to take the kids like anytime. Like it wasn't ever a problem. So that's what she did. She dropped them off with this neighbor friend. I'm not sure how close they were, if they were like right next door neighbors or what they, but they were neighbors. So Dorothy had dropped off the 3 kids and headed into town to do her errands for the day. And she had stopped by a local butcher shop and kind of had a little chat with him, talked to him, kind of joked around, had a good old time. I don't know if they were close friends or if it just seems like that's kind of how Dorothy was. She was just kind of this person that was easy to talk to, easy to joke around with, got along with everybody. So I don't know if they knew each other or not, or, I don't know. But that's what happened, and she went to some local shops, grocery stores, stuff like that, and actually seen quite a few of her friends at the grocery stores and stuff, and nothing seemed out of the normal for her. By the time she was done with her errands, it was starting to get dark out, so she figured she would just let the kids stay at the neighbor's house for a little bit while she brought all the groceries in, got it unloaded, all of that kind of stuff. She figured it would just be easier for her, and that's what she did. So she went home first, but little did she know she was being followed, and she was in a lot of danger. So Dorothy got home that night, like that evening. It was starting to get dark out when she would open the door to her home when she would be attacked by somebody. So she stepped in to her home and she was hit right away. Now when she got hit, she had bumped into the side little like table thing that a rotary type phone was on. And if you don't know about phones back then, there would be a operator there that would assist you with helping figure out your telephone, how to dial, whatever you needed help with. He was on the other end to assist you. And you just have to like push like any button, I believe, and let it sit, and then he would answer and be like, this is what you need help with, whatever. So she knocked the phone over and it ended up hitting whatever it needed to. This is like crazy, like by chance, but it hit the number and she started getting attacked. She was getting hit and beaten, and the operator on the other phone got very, very, very worried about whoever was on the other end of this, phone. And luckily she got a hold of the police like right away and was like, listen, this girl accidentally called me. It sounds like something bad is going on down there. You guys need to get down there like ASAP. And that's what the police did. So once she finally woke up in the hospital, the police tried to question her like right away to see if she knew who her attacker was, if she could, had any details to tell the police officers, but she didn't really have anything. This was such a surprise attack. She barely even had time to react to it, pretty much. Dorothy said, and I quote to the police, she said, "Someone jumped out at me. I couldn't see who it was. He just hit me and hit me." Dorothy could not give a real good description of who attacked her, because like I said, he came pretty much from behind is what it looked like. And well, to Dorothy, he came from behind. He just kind of jumped out and attacked her. So I did my liner, mascara, and all that off camera just because it's so much easier. So, where are we? Let's get started. So, like I said, she couldn't figure out, you know, like a description or anything. It was pretty just random is what it seemed like to her and pretty much everybody else. So the police went back to the house and tried to find any clues like fingerprints, you know, if it was like a robbery gone wrong, but none of her stuff was like taken, like all her jewelry, her wallet, everything. Nothing was touched, and there was no fingerprints found either, which means that the attacker had literally just gone in, like let her open the door, right, attacked her when she got in and left, like that, just like that. And they didn't really have anything except for a close neighbor friend who said that day she looked out her window and saw that Dorothy had come home, like was coming home, and she said she saw a man following behind her, but she knew Dorothy was pretty friendly, so maybe she knew him, maybe it was Jules. She couldn't really tell, it was dark out, it was just a man. The only really real description she could give was that he was obviously bigger than Dorothy. So that's all, you know, she could really say, but she did see him come, but she figured nothing of it. She didn't figure anything bad would happen like it did, and she just kind of, you know, stopped watching and went back to doing her daily business or whatever she was doing, you know. So Dorothy ended up going home, you know, she was treated for her injuries and all that, but Dorothy did not go back to being the same Dorothy she was. She was paranoid. She didn't leave the house. She checked the locks religiously to make sure they were all locked, and, you know, that she felt safe inside of her home. She felt like if she left again, she was going to get attacked again on her way home or out or kidnapped or something. And I really don't blame her for feeling this way, because that's traumatic. Like, to leave your house 1 second like you normally do and come home and get attacked by a stranger, and the fact that the cops had nothing to go on and he was still out there, that's terrifying. I couldn't even imagine how she was feeling at this moment, just literally terrified. But like I said, she did not leave her home at all. She'd only leave if she really honestly had to. Other than that, she stayed in with the kids, and that was it. She didn't even go out to her friends anymore. She didn't really go out shopping. Jules was doing all of that now because she was too scared to go out, and that just became the new normal for her. And of course, Jules was questioned extensively, you know, because he wasn't with her that night either, so where was he? But he was at work, and his alibi of being at work checked out, so he was like, all right, yeah, he was at work, so there's nothing you can really do about that. So the police kind of just left it as it was a random attack, that, you know, it's all good, it'll be fine, and just kind of left it at that. They didn't try to investigate anymore because there was nothing they could investigate. I mean, the police did everything they could when it happened, and nothing else had happened. They just kind of went on living normal pretty much. Jules went to work every day, she stayed home with the kids, and nothing else had happened since that day, pretty much. But that wasn't until 4 years later when something really traumatic would happen. This was October 18th, 1949. Jules was invited to a little work banquet, like political banquet, and he had to go. It wasn't really an option. He kind of had to go for work, so he figured, like, you know, let's drop the kids off at the neighbor's house, and you and I, let's go out, you know, get you out of the house so you're not so paranoid. You'll be with me, we'll be around everybody, you know, it'll be okay. But Dorothy did not want to at all. She was like, I'm good. Like, I will pass. Like, you just go, you have fun, I'll stay with the kids, it'll be fine, I don't want to go. And Jules really couldn't make her go. That was her decision, and he was just like, I mean, all right, I guess there's nothing I can really do. If you don't want to go, I'm not going to force you. So Jules left that night, and that left Dorothy home with just the two youngest kids being Edward and Marcy, because Myrna was 19 at the time. She still lived at home, but she was out with her friends this night. because she was 19. She was, you know, just out with her friends having a fun, like, little girls' day or whatever, or girls' night. So it was just the three of them, and everything seemed normal, you know. She stayed home. The kids, you know, were normal. Everything was fine. She didn't feel like anything was off. Jules actually called not long after he left to go to the banquet to check in on her, you know, ask if she was okay, you know, if he wanted to come back and get her, whatever and stuff, and you know, tell her that he got to the banquet and stuff. And she said she was fine and everything, but she said, "Make sure you miss me," which to Jules didn't seem like anything he should be worried about or anything until those were the last words he heard from her, and it haunted him. So Jules got home at about 11:30 that night, and nobody was around. And it was a little bit odd, but not really, because it was 11:30, so he figured, you know, the kids were probably asleep in bed somewhere, but he didn't see Dorothy, but he figured maybe she was tuckered out too. Maybe they had a long night of doing something, you know, maybe they went outside, played games, or whatever. So he figured she was either, you know, upstairs, you know, asleep already, or maybe she was tucking the kids in bed or something. So he went upstairs, and he heard from the kids' bedrooms whimpering. He walked into the bedroom to find Marcy and Edward tucked in together, crying, and the only words that Marcy could utter out was, "Mommy's gone." Now, Marcy was 9 years old at this time, so she could have said so much more, but that's all she could really get out to him, was that Mommy was gone. And Jules tried not to panic. He figured maybe that she ran to a friend's house really quick or something to get something, like a neighbor, a friend, something, and the kids woke up and it scared them that she wasn't there or something. He tried not to panic in front of the kids. So he went downstairs really quick and called, you know, neighbors and friends of hers to try to see if they knew where she had been, if they had called her and said she was going somewhere, like, keep an eye on the house, you know, I'm leaving the kids, something. But none of her friends or the neighbors had really heard from her, nor did they have plans to see her that night. And that's when Jules kind of freaked out, but a friend had said that she talked to her at about 9 o'clock, and they had made plans to go shopping. I don't know if it was like the next day or something, but they had plans to go shopping either way. So this kind of freaked him out. So she was obviously home at 9 o'clock, and it was now 11:30, and the kids are crying, saying that she's gone, like she disappeared. That's, you know, the end, pretty much. So that's when Jules decided that it was time to call authorities. And they found that her purse and everything was still there. Her keys, her wallet, everything was there still. So it was even more odd that none of her stuff was missing. So it wasn't like she tried to run away, because if she tried to run away, all of her stuff would be there. Like, or all of her stuff wouldn't be there. You know, she would have had to take in her car, her keys, her money, you know, all of that stuff. The police, you know, searched around the house, and they couldn't find any evidence of a break-in, a struggle, anything. But the biggest clue that they had was sitting right in front of them. Marcy had actually seen something that night. So little 9-year-old Marcy had woken up that night to a sound of something outside that was strange to her, you know, maybe a car, something. And it woke her up. So she, you know, took a peek, you know, out of her door, where she saw a man coming up the stairs. Now, I cannot imagine the fear that she would have had at this moment, being 9 years old and seeing a man who she said she did not recognize at all. He was a complete stranger to her. So I cannot imagine how scared she would have been at this moment. Said he came up the stairs, and he was wearing a brown peaked hat and a brown jacket that had something peeking out of the pocket, but she could not see like make out what it actually was. She said that she watched him come up the stairs and go into her mom's room, Dorothy's room, and she could see into Dorothy's room where she saw her mother laying on the ground, face down on the rug, and in her words, she looked sick. So she said she saw the man pick her mother up, sling her over her shoulders, and she was wearing bright red silk pajamas with a pair of slippers. And then the man walked out, and that is when she got the courage to step outside of her door and ask this man what he was doing with her mother, which is so incredibly brave for a 9-year-old. I would have been absolutely terrified out of my mind. But she got the courage to go out of her room and ask him what she was doing, like what's going on. The man looked at her, patted her on the head, and said, go back to bed, go back to sleep, little one. Your mommy has been sick, but she will be all right now. Then he walked down the stairs and left out the front door, locking it on his way out. And that's when Marcy would go to her brother Edward's room, wake him up, kind of tell him what happened, and they both started, to cry and comfort each other. And then not even 15 minutes later, Jules would arrive home. Now, the police did not believe this story. They listened to it, they let her tell the story, but they didn't know if they could believe a 9-year-old to remember this incident so vividly, word by word, what the man, if they could trust her, or if she was kind of just making it up as she went, or what. So nobody really believed her story at the beginning of all of this, because it kind of seemed a little, like I said, they just didn't know if they could trust a 9-year-old's words or not. Like I said, she had said that the man locked the door on the way out, but there was no fingerprints found anywhere on the door or anything. So was he wearing gloves, or what happened? And if she would have gotten out and talked to him, why didn't he hurt her? She was obviously a witness to what he had just done, so why was she safe? Investigators just had a lot of questions about her story, which I understand. But then again, I don't know how you could make something like this up at that age. Something so traumatic. She was obviously shooken up about it. I just don't see how you could make something like this up at that age. That's not something you know about, really. And the other thing that I found odd is the way she said that her mother was sick. I don't know. So pretty much the investigators didn't have anything really to go on, because there was no evidence. Again, there was no fingerprints, there was no forced entry, there was nobody even saw her being carried out of her house. Literally nobody saw her at all. So where do they go from here? They have a little girl telling them this story, but nobody saw her leave the house. So they really wanted to believe that she had just simply left, that she had just ran away or something. That's what they wanted to believe. But then again, the way she was described in this community, she would not have left her children alone. She would have probably dropped them off to that babysitter who would have taken the kids in any instance to make sure that they were safe. She would not have left them alone at night ever. She would have figured something out. And if she would have ran away, how would she have ran away without her keys, without her wallet, without any of her belongings? That's what was so confusing about this, is if she ran away, Why didn't she grab anything? Nothing of her things were missing. None of her clothes, none of her shoes. Did she leave in her slippers? Like, that's the only thing that was missing, but she was wearing those that night, and her pajamas that she was in. Like, that's all she was missing was the stuff she was wearing. So Marcy ended up going to a child psychiatrist to be evaluated to see if her story was, made up, if she was an imaginative kid and could have just made the story up out of her imagination, or if it was actually something that could have been very, very true. So, like I said, she was investigated or whatever. Not investigated, but she talked to a child psychiatrist. The psychiatrist said that she was so level-headed and mature for a 9-year-old that this story was more than likely the truth. She was not one to make something like this up. She was definitely telling the truth. Marcy was so adamant that a stranger had taken her mom from her, and she was not, like, the story never changed, it never got different, it always was the same story, word for word, pretty much. Now the police kind of had to believe her because of this, because they didn't have anything else to go off of. Like I said, there was no evidence found in the house, there was no evidence of neighbors seeing her, there was literally nothing but Marcy. The cops sent over 10,000 notices to different, cop stations around, the area, like in Pennsylvania, the surrounding cities around Pennsylvania and stuff like that, with her picture and the description of the man that had allegedly, taken her, and, all that jazz. But nothing really came out of it. Nobody knew her, nobody saw her, nothing. And the other weird thing about this case is you would have thought the media would have ate this case up. They were a wealthy, well-known family. How did the media not cover this at all? Not even a little bit. Like, they did for a week, and then all of the stuff was pulled. And then there was nothing. So, why? Like, why did all of a sudden the media just pull everything off the shelves about Dorothy's case? And that was literally that was like the last time it was heard of for quite a while. And then a year later, actually, a journalist had come out with a little article about Dorothy, because he was like, why is nobody talking about what happened? Like, she's a young woman who went missing and nobody's trying to find her anymore. So he published an article on his website, and he actually was contacted by the Forstein's attorney, family attorney, asking to take it down. He said that it was actually a really kind letter, email. They weren't threatening, they weren't mean, they weren't anything. It was just, they asked them out of respect for the family to please take it down, and so he did. But a lot of people found this very, very suspicious, that all of a sudden, there's no media coverage, there's nothing. I'm gonna go ahead and finish these teeth, and then I will be back to continue. So after, that article came out about that, and he was asked to, take it down and stuff by the family's attorney, people started to get really suspicious of Jules. So what people are kind of speculating with this is maybe, the first attack was random, and when she started getting paranoid and stuff, Jules kind of was sick of it, and he was like, it's been forever now, like, you need to get over it, pretty much. And she couldn't, and he wanted her gone to start a whole new life so that, he didn't have this burden of, doing all the stuff she was supposed to be doing, and she wasn't, because she was so paranoid and scared and stuff. And he hired a hitman, because if if Marcy's story was true, it was a stranger, right? So it wouldn't have been himself. And he would have had to had an alibi, you know, being at the banquet, you know, oh, I don't know, I haven't been home. Many people saw me, you know, that they can say, yeah, no, he was at this banquet with us. So, and why was he so nice to Marcy? Like, he easily could have taken Marcy as well, being she looked him dead in the face. She would have been able to identify him, you know, like, but if it was a hit, he would have paid him and, like, don't touch my kids no matter what, like, at all. You do not touch them. And that's why he was so nice to Marcy, because he was paid not to be. He was just paid to go in and get her. And the way he said that she was sick. A lot of mental illnesses back then were looked at as you were sick, which is true. You're mentally sick. The way that he said that she was, you know, sick and she was, you know, gonna be better now was kind of really odd, the way he put it to Marcy, that she was just sick. Kind of believe that that's what happened. Some people think that maybe he was trying to get rid of her, sent out a hit, but it went wrong and it didn't work, and then 4 years later he was like, all right, I can't do it anymore, paid somebody off once he got all the money, you know. I don't know if I believe that he was the one to take the hit out on her in the beginning. I don't know. And the other theory is, like I mentioned, she was having fun, like, talking with the butcher that day, and maybe he was, like, new in town and didn't know that's kind of who she was, and she was being really friendly to him, and maybe he asked her out or something, and she was like, no, like, that's not what this is, you know, I'm married, I have a husband, I have kids, and he took that very offensively and went as far as to kill her, you know, or beat her up, you know what I mean. And maybe he just stalked her for a while because he couldn't get her then. There was too many witnesses, it was light out, you know, or it was getting dark out, there was too many people around, whatever the circumstances of it was. But it wasn't the time then. And then 4 years later, he was, you know, maybe he's been watching her and saw he was leaving for a while and figured it's the perfect time to go in and get her because, well, you know what I mean, she's alone, the kids are sleeping. It was only 15 minutes before Jules got home, so it wasn't like, you know what I mean, like, I don't know. I think that is a very, very possible theory. I think that's a very possible theory that, you know, she had a stalker and all, you know, and he finally found the right time 4 years later to get at her. But I don't know. I'm still a little fishy. Have done this had to have moved very, very quickly. I mean, the police got there pretty fast on the first attack for him to walk in, hurt her, and then leave with no trace at all. Nobody saw him leave, nothing. So he had to have been somebody in the neighborhood, somebody close enough that he could just go into his house and it be that. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody that wouldn't cause alarm is kind of what I'm getting at. And same with the other thing, nobody saw him leave with her body slumped over him. None of the neighbors saw him walk in or walk out with her the night that she was kidnapped. Like, it had to have been somebody close enough in the neighborhood or that have known the neighborhood and knew ways to get around the neighborhood in, like, a quick manner without anybody seeing them. So, I don't know. What I think happened is she was attacked. Oh my God, I'm talking about getting kidnapped and I just heard something. I heard my dog and it scared the crap out of me. Anyways, what I think is what happened is she, you know, not really flirted, but, you know, was being friendly with somebody who took it as flirting, got rejected, followed her home and beat her up for it, and, you know, maybe figured, you know, I'm not gonna kill her or anything. I just, you know, want her to learn her lesson, because, you know, men are shitty like that sometimes. And then left. And after that, she, like I said, she couldn't recover, and maybe it was just too much for Jules to handle. He couldn't deal with it anymore. He couldn't deal with his wife staying inside 24/7, never going out with him, never doing any of the errands and stuff like that. And he just was like, I can't do it, just take her out. Like, I don't want to go through the divorce and look like the bad guy here. I want, you know, he didn't want to look like the one who was like in the wrong for divorcing her after she went through something so traumatic, you know. And maybe, you know, I really think that is what it is, because the person who abducted her was obviously violent. Obviously. A very violent person. So if he would have saw Marcy, see her, talk to her, he would have done something to her. You know, taken her with, knocked her out, killed her even, so that his traces wouldn't have been tracked, because obviously he didn't want to be tracked. I mean, he left no fingerprints, he left no evidence behind of anything. So why would he leave Marcy unless he, you know, was told, you don't touch my damn kid, like, you do not touch my kids, you leave my kids alone, you just go in, you get her, and you leave. And maybe he had made a special dinner for her that night or something with some kind of poison in it, was like, you know, eat this, you know, before you go to bed or something, for a little snack, or, you know, something like that. And she took it, and that's why she was knocked out on the bed, like on the floor that night. So it was easy for him to get access, because why was she just laying on the floor knocked out? That's what one of the things that I don't understand either about this case is, why was she just knocked out on the floor when he came upstairs? Like, she obviously had to have been drugged by something, or something or another, to have been knocked out like that. But I don't know. You can't do an autopsy. There's no body. There's nothing. And I think this case is so strange and so sad for her kids who had to witness it. Like, I can't even imagine how traumatized Marcy is. And I don't know. If it was the father's fault, I do not feel bad for him, and I really do think he had something to do with this, because there's just no way he didn't. I don't know. Something about him was off to me about this whole situation. I don't know. He just kind of screams suspect to me. Let me know what you guys think down below, what theory you think is the most likely theory. She's obviously passed away by now. This happened in the 40s, 50s. So if she was 30 then, she's, you know, getting up in age now. So she's either was murdered a while ago, or she was kidnapped and taken, and she's alive, and she was kept alive, you know what I mean, by her kidnapper, and she, you know, died of natural causes somehow, or she's really, really old living with him, or maybe he passed away and she was older, you know. Anyways, she's more than likely deceased now, which is so sad. And I really hope she did not die a terrible, terrible death, because she is not somebody who deserved a terrible death. I can think of a couple people who I think deserve one, but she definitely did not. But yeah, let me know what you guys think happened down below. Thank you guys for watching and supporting me. I did just start a small business, so if you would like to support me in that, my Etsy link will be down below. I make press-on nails. If you would like a custom order of a custom design that you would like, nail shape, size, and all you have to do is DM me either on my Instagram, which I will leave down below as well. You can message me on my Facebook page or on Etsy itself. But yeah, they are very affordable. They range anywhere between $10 to $15 with a $3 shipping fee, so they are very, very affordable for what you are getting. I love nails. As you can see, I did these ones. I have a whole bunch not a whole bunch, but I have quite a few on my Etsy and stuff. So if you want to go support me, even just give it a good review and a, you know, like or something, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.